what do I want to share? So I'm going to talk about in a short time and give Junius as much time as he needs. AI. I don't know if anybody else is talking about AI. I looked through the schedule and every single person has AI in their title, which is nuts to think about. But what I wanted to share is there's a lot of noise and there's all this stuff coming out daily that's like drinking from a fire hose. So I want to share things that I actually use and how I'm using it in my daily workflow as opposed to just kind of the fluff. So as you can see, that is me, Mark Hamill, obviously with a name like that. I'm a massive Star Wars fan, and that's fantastic hair on that image right there, which I would never, ever be able to grow. But what I want to talk about is a few things. We're all prompt engineers now. At this point, the technology has been out long enough that we've understood what a prompt is. How do we write a prompt? What's the structure? I mean, there's people that have very structured formats that they use. There's people that just have rolling dialogue with the technology, which is great as well. But we're all prompt engineers now, and it really comes down to that we've all learned that it's how we ask that matters the most. And I'll talk about that in just a second. But the big key here is that this technology has really lowered the barrier or pretty much obliterated the barrier to entry for building things that you would want to use. So you think about past times, if you had an idea or you wanted some sort of product that you think would help you would have to come up with an idea. You'd have to probably write something out, go to a development team, try to get them to buy in to actually build it for you. And then depending on the company you're at, that could take 6, 8, 10, 12 months or years. Now, with this technology, you can build anything you want for the most part at the with just a little bit of natural language. And this whole idea is really coming about from Software 3.0. So does anybody out there know who this person is? That's going to be rhetorical because I don't think I have time to actually look at all the chat. But this gentleman is Andrej Karpathy. They call him kind of like the godfather of the space that ran with this technology. He's one of the co-founders of OpenAI. He led the autopilot division at Tesla. He has his own company now he's doing, but he spoke recently at the Y Combinator event, and I think it was a couple months back, and he talked about this idea of software 3.0. And what is that really? So the force is obviously strong with him. I forgot to put that in there. But it's really just saying that the hottest new programming language is English. And that's very true. And this is a small little graphic you probably can't read very well, but what it's saying is software 1.0 was explicit code, like very structured, deep syntax. You had to understand different languages and how to build those and write upon those, so on and so forth. 2.0 was training neural nets and showing so through examples and just kind of getting these things to recognize patterns for the most part. And 3.0 is where we are now with this technology. We can build our solutions through natural language. So I'm going to show you that in a second. But real quick, when you think about building things with natural language, it might be kind of daunting, but I ground myself in thinking about these two individuals. I don't know if everybody knows who these are, and I hope you are. They are one of them speaking tomorrow. Individuals that are moguls in the industry, and it's Shally and Glenn. You don't really need to say last names, kind of like Ichiro, but they have the source that's very strong with them. And I show them here because they are wizards. They are very, 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 very smart in this industry of sourcing and recruiting, and we look at them for leaders in this type of space, so we can learn the latest and greatest topics. But in my opinion, what really separates them is they have a very incredible ability to explain things, or there should be a better word than explain, but to demystify a topic and break it down in the ways that others can understand. That is what is going to set people apart when you think about writing prompts or using this technology to build programs, is the better that you can break down what you're trying to display and relay that to whatever system you might be interacting with, the better your output is going to be. So think about the way that Shally and Glenn interact when they do all sorts of things that they chat about, which I know Glenn is tomorrow, and just listen to how they do it, how they break things down. And when you're writing prompts or building systems or whatever you'd like to do, just think about that type of structure because it's really, in my opinion, what separates them apart from the rest of us. So what I said earlier, though, is now software 3.0, you can just build things. So let's talk about how to do that. And we have just a few quick minutes here. So anybody out there familiar with Google's AI Studio? There's a million and one programs out there or platforms out there to do similar. I'm going to show you this because I do believe that it is the easiest to access and also has the lowest barrier to entry. But at the same time, it's free up to a certain tier. So I think it's with Google. I think it's with Gemini 2.5 Pro. I think it's like 100 queries a day, which that's a lot. But with 2.5 Flash, I think it's like 250 or something. Don't quote me on that, but I think that's what it is. And what you can do within AI Studio is it has all these different things. You can just do like a standard interaction, have a basic chatbot like we all do. You can generate media, you can stream your screen live, or you can build. And if you go to build, you can type in whatever you want. So let's just do a super quick example. One example that I think is very interesting to consider is that for my role currently with the company that I'm in, we have a lot of things open, and there's so much crossover between one of the roles and the other roles. There's a lot of crossover between skill sets and things of that nature. So I sometimes get stuck in the middle of like, all right, this candidate could be a fit here, could be a fit here. I don't know which one's the best. And instead of taking the time to go and ask all these hiring leaders of like, better fit for your team, the other team, I wanted to build something that could help get that middle layer, or solve that middle layer for me. So you can go just straight to this AI studio, and you can plop in there something as simple as, this is my prompt. I'm just going to show you real quick what I said. I'm just going to create a web page that I can insert a resume. I want it to have a spot for optional text that I want to add, or optional location. I want it to just take the basic logic of the resume, pair it up with what's on the jobs page. And I'll touch on that in a second because that's the key. And I want it to review the candidate, and I want it to look at the candidate and the jobs and tell me which ones would be the best fit based on a ranking score. It's not like I'm using this to make a consequential deployment decision. I'm instead using this to get me closer to where I'd want to find, or getting me closer to the center of the bullseye. So we're going to run this. And one thing I did, just because I did it for SpaceX, because this morning I just looked for jobs that were open in Texas, and SpaceX was the first thing that popped up. They had a ton of jobs open. And so I went to SpaceX page and I got their hex codes, which is their color. So it's going to give us the theme, the SpaceX theme. So we're going to build this. And what it's going to do is it's going to just, you sit here and you grab your popcorn and you watch it do this if you'd like, or you can go look at the output, which we will. And it's going to build all the files for you. You don't do anything. You saw the natural language prompt I put in there. That was that. And it's going to build it for you. So instead of sitting here and making everybody wait and we just sit with the Jeopardy music, I'm going to show you what the output looks like. And it looks like this. The thing about it is you can look at all the files, you can look and continue to iterate on things. Like you say, oh, I want the background to be red. You could just say that and it'll change the background. But you can also see all the code right here. And I want to mention something that this is a really small point to some individuals. This is a huge point. So if you think about what I asked it to do, was I said, I want to be able to insert a resume and have it pair it or run it through all the jobs that are open and then give me the best recommendations. To do that, it needs to have a way to access those jobs. Well, what it did, and you saw the prompt that I used, is it uncovered that they use Greenhouse. And it uncovered that this is the API where all the information is stored. I did not tell it to do that. Like, I could have gone and found that in the network activity, but I didn't. So why is this cool? Because it's actually querying. I'm going to try to highlight this before it does anything here, Goofy. Let's just do great. I just deleted it. I'm not going to do it because we don't have time. But what if you were to click on this, and I just put the Z in there too? Nice. Good job, Mark. If you were to look at this, it would just be a bunch of text of all the jobs. So you are giving it a machine readable format that you can pair with your resume, and it will access all those jobs and give you back something. So I don't know if we're going to have enough time to run this because it takes a couple seconds to query every job, but let's just give it a shot anyway. So what I'm doing is I have a fake resume, a synthetic resume I made for Luke Skywalker. He's an AI researcher, kind of cool stuff. You match the job. This might take a minute or two to run. Let me get this out of the way so everybody can see it. And hopefully it'll run quicker than not. All right, let's go. Again, I have not tested this, but we're going to pretend that I did. And it should give me a matching score when it's done. But again, it's running this through all the jobs that are open. This could take a second. You'd think I would have had one queued up, right? But let me just, why this is doing it, let me just recap real quick. I literally went to this and said, build this for me, and look at all the files. This is almost identical. Oh, Galactic Recruiter. It's getting creative now. Almost the same output, right? You can insert that here, analyze candidate. Here's all the files. It's using Gemini. Here's one of the other things that I wanted to share while it's doing what it's doing is you can click this right here, and maybe you have your whole team that you want to share this with. You click this, it'll give you a shareable link. And this is totally free. You can just share the link with everybody. They can access your job analyzer. You can also save it. You can run it. You can host it if you want to share it with people externally, whatever you want to do. And this is just spinning. Fantastic. It'll go. I promise you it'll go. I know this will go. On the count of 1, 2, 3. No? All right. Well, this is going to go. So we'll come back to that in half a second. The one other thing I wanted to share in just 2 minutes, Junius, forgive me, is this other thing called happenstance. I don't know if people have tapped into this yet or not, but what happenstance does is it leverages all of your networks. You can link it with your LinkedIn, you can link it with your Google accounts, your Gmail, whatever else you'd like to link it with. And what it does is it leverages your connections and returns to you the results of people that you'd be looking for within your network. So think about going to LinkedIn. You would want to look at all your connections when you get a new requisition and see who already fits that they already connected with, warm leads. But this does all of that for you. So you can select, you want your connections, you want all your friends' connections, and then you can type in whatever you want. I already did this to save time. And what I did here is said, I want AI ML researchers that have 3 to 5 years experience and possess a PhD from the Bay, blah, blah, blah. And this is what it did, is it went through my network, my 13, whatever it is, and it returned to me all the results. This is free for, it is a great freemium. I think you get like 50 returned results with each search, so you can use it a bunch. And it gives you a score. You can see how much do they match with being an AI researcher? How much do they match with their experience? How much do they match with the PhD? And it will give you a breakdown. And it will again show you where your connection is, so you can leverage that in your reach out. So you can do this stuff, but this is the sweet spot of what the technology is. All this stuff we can already do. It's just able to do it faster. So I can actually do the fun things of build a galactic recruiter. All right, let's go back and see if this worked. It's not working. Come on. Um, well, on that note, that's a disappointment. But normally you would build one of these and it would give you a match score and say, this is the best job because it's a 95%. This is the next best job because it's a 94%. And here's why. So in a perfect world, this would have worked, but it didn't work because it's just spinning. So on that note, I would love to answer questions for just like a minute or two while I run it on my other one here. And we'll give it a second to try to run on the one we just built live. So let me look at the chat really quickly and see what we've got. Oh, it failed. Fantastic. On a
Hey,
roll.
how about we do this? Just maybe give a recap of what are the two applications that you just highlighted. We'll throw it in the chat, and then they can, the challenge to you guys would be go try it out yourself. So the first one is called what,
The first
Mark?
one's Google AI Studio. Let me plop that in the chat here. And the other one is fantastic. I'm glad this worked live. Just makes everything so
Yeah,
nice.
no worries, no worries.
But you saw happenstance. Happenstance is super helpful.
Okay.
Yes, let me share those with in the chat here, and then we can give it over to Junius here to do his thing.